It's my pleasure to be before you once again on behalf of the Cook County Bar Association. My name is Lewis Powell, and I'll be hosting tonight's program. And we have a distinguished guest, Mika Thompson, who actually runs our CAN TV program, and we're going to try to cover some ground for you today. But again, it's always a pleasure to come before our listening audience. Forgive me, I'm fighting a little cold here. We're going to try to do the best we can. We invite you to give us a call. Now, Mika and myself, we can talk all day long, but it would be no fun unless somebody comes and interacts with us. Today's topic, I think, is a topic that should be interesting to everyone. It's really in terms of retaining an attorney, in terms of the retainer agreement, your relationship with the attorney, what to expect throughout the relationship, monetary issues, so forth and so on. Mika?
Yes. So, as you may or may not know, we are members of the Cook County Bar Association, and as such, we do not represent your interests. So we always encourage our viewers to contact the Cook County Bar Association and speak to a lawyer specifically about your issue. And also, again, don't forget, if you have a question, call the number that appears at the bottom of your screen, 312-738-1060. Now to get to our topic, we really want to focus on some of the tips and best practices that you as a legal consumer should pursue when you're considering retaining an attorney.
Well, Mika, let me ask you this. How do you go about shopping for an attorney?
Oh, for the first thing you need to know is have an understanding of what your legal issue is. And fortunately for many people, Google is a good assistant. You can Google many times the issue like a divorce, child support, and it will give you a return with regards to the heading. So child support tends to go under the heading of domestic relations. If you're looking to evict someone, if you type that in, you're probably going to get the heading, which is landlord-tenant. You can always go on to any type of legal aid website, and that will also give you an understanding of just the basic description of the legal heading and the issues that are involved with your particular case. And so it's always good, just like if you were shopping for a doctor, to get an understanding of what the issue is. For a doctor, it would be the condition, and any reputable doctor would advise you to look it up and get an understanding for yourself. The same is true with the law. If whatever your legal issue is, look it up and get a good understanding of what type of the topic is and what the legal issues are under that topic. So that's the first step, is getting an understanding for yourself.
Okay. Now we Google. Now what if you're a senior citizen like myself and you don't Google? What about word of mouth?
Word of mouth is always good. You can always ask your friends or comrades for referrals with regards to who is a good attorney, or what type of attorney should I be looking for. You can always contact like our agency, the Cook County Bar Association, and speak with any staff member on staff and explain your situation, and they will not only let you know what the heading is if it falls under domestic relations or contract. They will also refer you to a list of attorneys that appears on the Cook County Bar's website, or give you the name of a competent attorney licensed in the state of Illinois who has experience and training in that particular area of law. So we always advise our viewers to contact our bar association for referrals. It's always good to contact friends or people that you know who have had a similar legal issue and ask them for a referral too.
Well, let's take it from the top, Mika, because the Cook County Bar Association, we pride ourselves, we're the oldest African American bar association in the world.
Yes,
is that right?
That's true.
Incorporated in 1914. And we've been speaking truth to power.
That's true.
Ever since. We want to give you basic information that you can use, plain and simple. Let's talk about the initial consultation.
Okay.
Okay, you identified the attorney. You read a little research to try to have a little background on your legal issue. let's talk about that initial meeting with the attorney when you go to his or her office.
Okay, so before you go, you should always prepare a list of questions, things that you need to know before you leave that office. Many attorneys will provide, sometimes you can get like a free consultation. If you get that, you want to take advantage of it. So make a list of all the questions that you really need to have answers to. The other thing you should do in preparation before meeting with an attorney is really document the facts that are involved in your case, all of the details, whether you think they're relevant or not. Also collect any documents that would support or give credibility to whatever facts that are involved in your case, and bring those to the consultation. It's always best to let an attorney see exactly what it is that you're talking about and have examples of possible pieces of evidence that could be used in achieving the goals that you want to achieve with your litigation. Get an idea of, as I said, with the Googling, you could get an idea of what it may cost to litigate the case. I would not hang my hat on those representations with regards to what you see on the internet, because any case is going to be fact specific, and the cost tends to turn on those facts. But to the extent that you get an idea of what you really can afford to spend, you can realistically understand what you really need to negotiate on, or compromise on. The better you have a handle on what deal breakers exist and what things you can compromise on, the better the attorney will be able to advise you as to actually how much this is going to cost.
Mika, let me ask you this. What about the concept of managing your client's expectations?
Right. And so that is important. And the best way for you to have a clear understanding of what it's going to take to get the case done is for you to bring the information that I was talking about, because the attorney is going to manage your expectation. He's going to give you a realistic understanding of what it costs to get your goals accomplished, and then as well as realistically in the law what you can expect to achieve. I mean, there's certain things that people may want, but it's just not going to happen. For example, I'm a domestic relations attorney, and there are many people that come who are caretakers of children, and they want this big child support award. But if you're the father of the child or the mother of the child really is not making sufficient funds to provide you with a very substantial child support award, you're not going to get it. So there is that degree to which an attorney such as myself would have to manage your expectations and really bring you down to reality and say, look, even though that may be your goal, that's not a realistic option. And so you need to be prepared for that. You need to be prepared to hear the truth. And that goes to my next point. Many of these cases that people seek legal assistance with are very emotional, very emotionally charged. So you need to, in preparation for your consultation, create a support system, because the attorney, I don't care what their advertisement says, they have not been trained to be your therapist. They have been trained to be legal experts in the law and to argue and defend your interests. So you really need to work on your end and utilize the resources in your community and your friends to be that emotional support system. In many cases, if it's extremely emotionally charged and you have not really dealt with those emotions, it can affect the outcome of the case to the extent that you are not able to properly advise your attorney as to what your deal breakers are, as we were saying earlier, what things you can really compromise on and what things that you really have to work toward. For example, in domestic relations, there are a certain amount of monies that a parent needs in order to really maintain a household and keep children fed and clothed and so much. And many times the stress of the litigation will put a parent in a position where they feel like they should just give it up and throw in the towel. And that's just an emotional reaction. When in reality, you just needed to have an emotional support system and really think these through, so that you can, weather that storm. That is a small period during which a divorce is undergone, and you have the rest of your life to live. You do need to have a certain amount of money, and it's up to you to advise your attorney as to what that amount needs to be. And so if you don't have that emotional support system, you may be willing to compromise on things that you really can't afford to compromise
Well,
on.
Mecca, let's break it down. Now again, our number is 312-738-1060. 312-738-1060. I'm shocked we haven't got any calls. You know why I'm shocked, Mika? Because the number one falling out between attorneys and their client is really the retainer, in terms of because a lot of people don't understand. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Abraham Lincoln said it, and it's still the truth. A lawyer's time is his best tool. And you have to realize we're here to provide a service, but also we're here to make a living. You need to distinguish from the very get-go. Forgive me for using slang. The very get-go means, in layman's terms, at the beginning, the nature of the retainer. Now, a lot of times, especially divorce is not my area,
Right.
but I do know this: a lot of people, if they get charged, and forgive me for saying that, if they see that bill, they get more reasonable in terms of dealing with their ex. Okay, because people will fight forever and a day if they're not being charged. Now, attorneys will have to charge you. You have to realize in terms of what type of retainers you have. If you have a retainer that has billable rates, bear in mind, every time, Becky, you call me up,
Right.
you can call me up as much as you want, but I'm keeping track and I'm billing you.
Right.
Now, the average citizen says, well, what's a minute or 5 minutes? But you have to realize that takes time out of what the attorney is doing.
Right.
And depending upon the retainer agreement, it is fair for him or her to charge you for talking on the phone.
Right. And many attorneys now, with the advent of the internet and text messaging, we do charge for the time spent sending you emails. We do charge for the time spent text messaging. It's no longer just a quick yes or no answer. Usually these messages, these questions are very involved. And so the time we spend reading your message and the time we spend replying back, if there's any type of research or reviewing of the files that has to be done in order to answer your question, that time is billable. And it is, especially when, again, if your question is more emotionally based versus something that you really need an answer to, that's money that you could be keeping in your pocket. So it's very important for clients to understand, what do they really need to have, what information they really need to have, what are the deal breakers, because once you list that out, then you know what is really valuable to you, what type of information is really valuable to you, when you know what your deal breakers are and what those things you can compromise on. Other things is not that valuable, so then it's not worth calling the attorney to ask what time is my case up, when you can keep track of that yourself and not have to spend that kind of time on it. Did you file my petition on this day? Is it really worth that, or is it more important for that attorney to spend time on getting your goals accomplished? So that type, even though it seems like a small thing, the exercise in and of itself puts things in perspective for the client. And it can save them a lot of money in the end.
Absolutely. Mika, the time we have, let's talk about the different retainers.
Okay.
Let's talk about a flat retainer.
Okay. Your flat retainer is usually a flat fee. So many times for cases that don't take a lot of time, and it's the law is settled, the process is very well known and understood, the attorney will offer the clients a flat rate. For example, most people are familiar with the eviction process, and there are times in which attorneys will offer a flat rate just to go in and get someone evicted from a piece of real estate. And the flat rate usually is not offered if the case is complicated, if the case will require you to go to trial, if the case has a lot of different issues that have not been resolved by the appellate level or the court level courts. So if it's a unique case and no one has ever, the courts have not addressed your particular issue, then you're not going to get the flat rate. The flat rate is really just a fee that the attorney knows I can cover all the expenses, all the costs, and my time with this amount of money. So that's when you get the flat rate.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the billable rate.
The billable rate is an hourly rate, and it is by the hour. The billable rate tends not to include like fees that the attorney would incur by third parties. For example, the court assesses a filing fee. So any petition, any document that's filed in court to initiate the lawsuit, there's a fee assessed to that. That is not part of the billable rate. That is in addition to the billable rate. So if an attorney has a billable rate of $300, that means that's $300 an hour. That is not going to include the filing fees, any type of cost that a court reporter would assess for a deposition, the copy costs from Kinko's, or any type of legal research that is the fees are assessed by maybe LexisNexis or Westlaw, which are electronic providers of case law and statute information. So those fees are not included in your billable rate.
Let's talk about non-refundable retainers.
Non-refundable retainer is an amount of money that a client must give to the attorney to initiate the case. Those when they're non-refundable, if you decide later to discontinue the lawsuit, you don't get that money back. And so whatever time that was expended is deducted plus whatever is left over. You don't get that money back. So if you are being retained by an attorney who says they have a non-refundable retainer, understand that you're not going to get that money back. So you really need to know that this lawsuit is something that you want to pursue.
Mika, let's talk about the attorney-client relationship. A lot of times young people are taking what's called counseling negotiation.
Okay.
In law school, and we're trying to train the young students how to deal with the client. As we brought up, managing expectations. As an attorney, attorney should not promise you the world.
Right.
Attorney should promise you to give you 110% and to do their very best, but not to promise the world.
Right. If you get an attorney that says, I can guarantee you this result, you need to run for the hills, because that's not a good thing for attorneys to do. And it smacks of unethical. You need to have an attorney that can look you in the face and tell you the truth. This is what the situation is. This is the hurdles that we may have to overcome. And this is what it's going to cost to do it. And that way, when an attorney does that, that gives you the freedom and and respects your intelligence enough to allow you to make an informed decision. You would not want to retain the services of a doctor that could guarantee you that you were going to be be free from smoking if you go and see the doctor and undergo these treatments or a particular surgery. That's not guaranteed. That's never guaranteed. You would want the doctor to be honest with you and let you know realistically what your chances are, what your chances are survival, so that if you decide to pursue whatever procedure, that you can prepare yourself and your family for whatever comes. So that's the same thing with legal services. A lot of these legal services require, as Attorney Powell informed you, money that may not seem like a lot to some, but it makes a difference in the lives of individuals and their families. And so you need to retain an attorney that's going to look you in the face and tell you the truth as to what it's going to cost and how this is going to affect your family and what your chances are, so that you can make the proper adjustments with regards to your budget and have, like I said, the proper support system and prepare yourself for the hurdles that are going to move forward. So you can't do that with an attorney that's not going to be honest with you.
That's right. We have 5 minutes. I want the audience to get their bang for the buck. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to realize complex litigation, things change. What might have appeared to be at the very beginning may not be the end result.
May not envy, right?
There's a term called discovery, where you exchange documents. You have deposition, where you get people under oath, where each party gets to tell their side of the story.
Right.
And even though a lot of times litigation is predictable, you can believe on me, as discovery goes, sometimes stories change.
And there's always some type of surprise.
So you have to be prepared to shift your expectations. Settlement is the key. You cannot possibly litigate all cases. What settlement is about is that both parties come out of it with something.
Right.
People leave with a distaste in their mouth if they're completely feel like they've been taken advantage of.
Right.
Settlement is you get something, you give something.
Right.
And that is the art of settlement. Whenever you're going into complex litigation, you need to have the proper frame of mind that sometimes a total win is not possible, because it's not possible. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, a total win is not possible because you do not have the resources to keep on litigating.
Right. And then there's also the reality that, like you said, things change in life, litigation, and so does your needs and things in your life. And you need to also be careful of what you ask for. There's many times that the things that you really are going after could result in some unexpected or unintended consequences. Again, in family law, the result is always child support and custody and those different things, but those have a real toll on children. And so the very things that the parent may be interested in may be the one thing that the child isn't. And in the struggle to get that versus settling has some prices that you pay and the children pay. So it's not always the best thing to always get everything that you want. A compromise can have some unintended benefits also.
Absolutely. Again, representation is a two-way street. The client has to be respectful of the attorney's time, and the attorney has to be respectful that the client is paying them for a service.
Right.
The number one falling out, and besides retainer agreement, is actually communication between the attorney and the client. Sometimes the attorney cannot call you back the same day.
Right.
Sometimes we all try to return calls in 24 hours. We try, but it's not always possible.
Right. Especially for us who litigate, and because we spend, unfortunately, a substantial amount of time in court. But before we leave, I also want to mention another issue that has been it's an emerging issue with regards to attorney services, and that's the unbundling of legal services. It's also referred as legal services a la carte. And just briefly, we probably will need to have another session on this, but just to give you a clear definition, it is the opportunity that clients have to retain an attorney just for a portion of all of the services that are necessary to get a case done. And so if you are interested in those type of services, you really do need to seek out agencies like Legal Aid that do this and do this for in cases that are small enough to be handled by non-experienced legal customers as opposed to legal service providers such as licensed attorneys.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is good to be back. We're going to have several shows for you with your Cook County Bar Association, the world's oldest African American bar association. The bar association is designed to help you, We'll be back not next week, but the week thereafter, same time, same station, and we want people to call. This is an educational program, not a lecture. We want people to call so we can interact with you. God bless you.
Thank you.